So the company audit. It's a term we hear a lot, but for a lot of people, it's kind of a black box, right? It sounds complicated, maybe even a little intimidating. Well, today, we're going to pry that box open. We're going to break down exactly how an audit works, and maybe more importantly, show you why it's pretty much the bedrock of trust in our financial world.
Now, you've probably seen a phrase just like this tucked away in a company's annual report. And let me tell you, this little sentence, it's the crown jewel of the entire audit. It's the final verdict. It's what gives everyone from investors to lenders the confidence to trust the numbers. But what you've got to understand is that behind these super formal, carefully chosen words, there is a massive investigative effort.
Okay, so to really get our heads around what goes into an audit, we're going to do something a little different. We're actually going to work backward. We're going to start right at the finish line with this final report and use it to unpack the entire journey that leads to that one powerful opinion. So, what's this opinion actually promising? Does it mean the company is a surefire success, or that every single cent is perfectly accounted for? Well, not quite. The real value and the truth of it really boils down to two super important concepts. All right, first up, we've got reasonable assurance. The best way to think about this is like a really, really good home inspection. You hire an expert, they go through the house, check the foundation, the plumbing, the wiring. They're going to find almost all the big, scary problems, right? That gives you a high level of confidence. But they can't see inside the walls. They can't promise you there isn't some weird hidden issue tucked away somewhere. An audit is kind of like that. It gives you a very high level of assurance, but it's not an absolute 100% guarantee, because things like super sophisticated fraud can be designed to be almost impossible to find. And the second key idea is material misstatement. Look, auditors are not hunting for a $5 rounding error in a company that's worth billions. That's just not the point. What they're looking for are mistakes or omissions that are big enough to actually change an investor's mind. An error that is material. So, forgetting to record the sale of one t-shirt? Yeah, probably not material. Forgetting to record the sale of an entire factory? Oh yeah, that is material. It's all about focusing on the errors that could actually make a difference. So to get this whole process, you've got to understand who the main players are. This is not a one-person show. There's a really clear and very intentional line drawn in the sand between the company's own management and the independent auditor who comes in to check their work. And here's that division of labor, laid out nice and clear. Think of it this way. Management, they're the authors. They are the ones writing the story of the company's financial year. They prepare the statements, they design the systems. The auditor, they're like the independent book critic. Their job is to come in, read the story, and give an opinion on whether it's a fair representation of reality. They are not there to write the story themselves. And that separation, that is absolutely fundamental for an audit to have any credibility at all. Okay, so how does an auditor actually get from point A, the very beginning, to point Z, that final opinion in the report? Well, it's not random. It's a structured, methodical process, almost like a playbook for a financial detective who's on the case, following the clues. Let's take a look at the key stages. Pretty much every audit follows this kind of cycle. First, you've got the engagement and planning phase. This is like the detective drawing up a blueprint for the whole investigation. Then comes risk assessment. This is huge. The auditors figure out where the biggest risks are, where are problems most likely to be hiding. After that, they check out the company's own defenses, its internal controls, to see how strong they are. Then comes the real nitty-gritty, gathering evidence. This is where they're digging into transactions, verifying balances, confirming numbers. And only after all that evidence has been gathered, sorted, and reviewed, only then can they write up that final report and sign their name to it. But here's the thing. Just following a checklist, just going through the motions, that's only half the battle. A really high-quality, effective audit depends on something you can't really write down in a manual, the auditor's mindset. There are two guiding principles that are just absolutely essential here. And you can really think of these as two sides of the very same coin. On one side, you have professional judgment. This is all about using your training, your knowledge, your past experience to make smart, informed decisions when things aren't black and white. But what guides that judgment? That's the other side of the coin, professional skepticism. This is all about having a questioning mind, critically assessing everything you see. It's not about being cynical or assuming everyone's a liar, but it's definitely not about taking everything at face value either. Okay, so be skeptical. That sounds good, right? But what does that actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon when an auditor is sifting through thousands of documents and transactions? How do you apply that attitude in the real world? Well, in practice, skepticism is a very active thing. It means you're constantly on the lookout for things that just don't feel right. So if management tells you, hey, sales shot up 50% this quarter, the skeptical auditor's first thought isn't, wow, great job. It's, okay, show me the proof. They'll ask to see the shipping documents, the customer contracts. If an invoice looks a little off, they don't just file it away, they question it, they dig deeper. It's this relentless trust but verify approach applied to every single piece of evidence that helps catch problems before they blow up into major scandals.
All right, so we've gone through the process, the mindset, the different roles. After all of that, what's the big takeaway? What's the whole point of this entire exercise? Well, it all boils down to one simple but incredibly powerful concept that our entire financial system is built on: trust.
That's it, right there. The ultimate goal of an audit is to enhance the credibility of a company's financial statements. It provides an independent, expert opinion that people, investors, banks, you, me, can actually rely on. It's the mechanism that gives people the confidence to invest their money in a business, and it's what allows our markets to work the way they do. It's just a vital layer of accountability. And that really brings us full circle, back to that idea of reasonable, not absolute assurance. So I want to leave you with a final question to think about. If even the best, most thorough audit has its limits, what kind of financial story might it still miss? A really clever, well-hidden fraud? Or maybe a huge problem that's lurking just over the horizon? It's just a crucial reminder of both the limitations and the incredible importance of the whole audit process.